when okay, we live in a society, in a very, unequal society, as that, with, according to the Congressional Budget Office in 2013, average income and wealth inequality has increased greatly since 1989, with the with the top 10% controlling over 76% of aggregate family wealth, and at this point, the top 1% controlling over 40% of aggregate family wealth, and all this while according to the a special report, a United Nations report done by the Special Rapporteur, reported that over 40 million people in the United States live in poverty, and over 18.5 million live in extreme poverty, and about 5.3 million live in extreme poverty. How do we what can we do about this? Well, one solution to maybe help take the strain off of poverty is to create universal basic income, which is defined as a as an uncon- as a sum of cash donated to every citizens, regardless of income or employment status. One possible suggestion I would get, this could be funded by redistributing excess wealth from the highest earners through taxation, and then that wealth is redistributed, like I said, to the lowest earners. Um, the average cost of living in the United States, the average cost of all living expenses, excluding rent, is on average about $1,000 according to the website TransferWise, and this could be a possible sum that we could use. This is advantageous for several reasons, I believe. For example, because people are able to pay for basic living expenses, no one is unable to put food on the table, and because it's redistributing wealth from the highest earners to the lowest earners, it reduces income and wealth inequality, which are both massive leeches on the economy. Because when you have so much wealth that's concentrated on so few people, there winds up becoming so much excess wealth that is just sitting there. It's never spent, and it's never invested. By spreading all that excess wealth to a larger number of people who have a lot of needs but don't have as much spending power, you wind up increasing consumer spending, because they then spend that money they've earned on private companies, and then because there's more consumer spending, that increases economic growth. And also, and according to a study by the International Monetary Fund, they discovered that they associated longer periods of sustained economic growth with greater income equality, and they even predicted in their study that closing the income gap by only 50% in Latin America and emerging countries in Asia would double economic growth periods almost instantly. And one of the best ways to ensure greater income and wealth equality is to redistribute wealth. And also it's another important thing to remember is that benefits and unconditional transfer do not necessarily make people lazy. For example, in a study called the Oregon Medicaid experiment, obviously done in Oregon, they actually found that found that Medicaid had little or no effect on overall employment or working hours in the state of Oregon, and also when the Roosevelt Center did institute, I mean, they did a collection of they analyzed a collection of studies on unconditional transfer, and they found overall no they found to, in quote, no, the evidence does not suggest that that an employee will drop out of the workforce when they receive unconditional cash, even if the unconditional cash received is large. The benefits do not make people lazy. In fact, they do. In fact, they are a great investment. Now, just to clarify, I'm not in any way suggesting that we get rid of the benefit system and replace it with universal basic income, as some have suggested. For example, former U.S. President Richard Nixon. What I am, but the benefits like Medicare and Medicaid are incredibly helpful. And speaking as someone who has never lived in poverty, thank goodness. And even I can remember that my family has greatly struggled with health expenses, and even though my dad, for example, has an MBA and is one of the most hardworking and most intelligent people that I know, and there are certainly people in a far worse position than I am, and I think and in fact I read that inability to pay back health insurance is one of the biggest reasons why Americans go bankrupt. And so what I'm saying is that people deserve economic security. I believe so many people are in poor situations that are completely out of their control. For example, many people lost their jobs in the Great Depression and the Great Recession out of no fault of their own, and I think they deserve the support they need. Now also just to clarify, I am not universal basic income is only part of the overall solution. Poverty, for example, is a symptom of a society gone wrong, and there are several societal issues that will need to be taken into account to cure the disease of poverty. For example, breaking up monopolies, companies that are so big that they stifle competition and raise prices, strengthening unions so that employees can negotiate better wages and better working conditions, regulating the banks so that they don't constantly loan out subprime loans, which are loans that cannot possibly be paid back, and also investing and also making sure that we invest as a country in education, in infrastructure, and in our local environments. I read the other day the day about last year, that I think it was earlier this year, that General Motors laid off several of its American employees due to General Motors outsourcing a lot of its work outside the United States. So to prevent companies from outsourcing their work and therefore lowering employment in the United States, one of the most effective ways is to spearhead innovation. And I think the environment is certainly investing in the environment and green technology, which there will be a lot of demand for in the future, is one of the best ways to do that. Now, of course, and in conclusion, I have proposed the idea of universal basic income and several other ideas as well. But universal basic income is the central idea of this speech, because in the words of Paul Krug, of economist Paul Krugman, we should all create the society that we would want if we did not know in advance who we would be. In other words, I believe that everyone, regardless of who you are, rich, poor, male, female, white, or black, deserves a basic standard of living, and one of the best, and guaranteeing universal basic income for everyone, I believe, gives us all an ability to pay, gives us economic security and ability to pay for more and more living expenses, and puts us all in a better position.